So whether they are in love or they have a strained relationship, what happens between USA and China is critical for the rest of the world because they are a big major bloc when it comes to global economy and its direction. But we are comforted in the sense that on the 15th of November, the president of USA and the president of China met after a long period of not talking to each other. And we are hoping that that meeting, which was historic between Xi Jinping of China and President Joe Biden of US, will be the beginning of a good relationship between USA and China, and that hopefully will have an impact on the rest of the world. You also have to keep an eye on what is happening between China and Taiwan. What is happening between China and Taiwan is exactly what we are seeing between Russia and Ukraine. China is claiming that Taiwan is a part of China. And they've been managing that relationship for a while. But a few weeks ago, the people of Taiwan went to the polls and elected a president who is anti-China. And so we have to keep an eye on that to see how that relationship is going to unfold. In the last few months, China has been preparing to invade Taiwan, and we should just be praying. Those of us who are prayerful should just be praying that Xi Jinping will not take that action of invading Taiwan in a bid to claim what they think is theirs. We have to keep an eye on China because China and Taiwan, the two, are a global technology hub. Taiwan controls 52% of all mobile devices and all electronic devices that you see on the market today. China controls 36% of that. So between Taiwan and China, they control 88% of all electronic devices across the globe. So if anything should happen between these two countries, you should know that we are doomed from a technology point of view. We won't get devices, we won't get routers, we won't get TVs, we won't get all the electronic devices that we think of will be seriously impacted if something happens between China and Taiwan. So for those of us in the IT, ICT, telecom space, we need to keep an eye on how that relationship unfolds. There's also an entity called Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. That company controls 57% of everything that you see in all devices across the world, including the airplanes that we fly on. The Boeings, the Airbus, the Falcons, and every jet that you see that flies, 57% of what is needed to make it fly is controlled by Taiwan. So Taiwan is critical and a key, it's a small country, but it plays quite a critical role in the ICT, telecoms, and electronic devices in the world. So keep an eye on that also. And as I said, our prayer as business executives is that there shouldn't be any strained relationship between China and Taiwan, because that has a major impact on how business will unfold in the months leading to 2024 and the end of the year. You also have to look at the US economy in global context. Their debt seems to be increasing. What it means is that opportunity to support lesser endowed economies like Ghana and emerging economies and developing economies to some extent will be curtailed because they all have their own problems that they have to deal with. Apart from that, the trade deficit of the United States of America continues to go up because most of their jobs sit outside the USA. So for example, the big technology giants import about 80–85% of all devices and all electronic items that they use outside the United States of America. So the United States of America owes China a huge chunk of money. Their trade deficit continue to grow. And in the last 2 years or so, it's grown beyond what they themselves expected. And then again, the Trump factor cannot be neglected. US elections is coming up somewhere in November, and Trump is likely to be the Republican candidates. Only has one person contesting him. And it's quite likely that by the next primaries, which I think is in California or thereabout, Trump will be the presumptive nominee for the Republicans. And his erratic nature and the way he behaves, it's a concern for most business leaders. Although in the United States of America, most business executives believe that he's the right person to champion the growth of the USA. And we also have to keep an eye on the relationship between US, China, and North Korea. There's a young boy who is running North Korea who has some atomic bombs and has been threatening once in a while to release it. And we need to keep an eye on that, how that relationship also unfolds. And of course, you all know about Russia and Ukraine war. It's been ongoing. It's been ongoing for 2 years now, and we don't see it coming to an end anytime soon. Russia seems to continue its aggression. Ukraine seems to demonstrate a bit of resilience. World leaders have been too quiet on this matter, just interested in supplying arms and support to Ukraine. In the last 1.5 years, the United States, for example, has given Ukraine aid support in ammunition, in cash, in resources to the equivalent of 110 billion. And just imagine what 110 billion can do to the global economy if this has been released into the global economy. But it's being used in supporting Ukraine. So as long as they continue to do that, the other parts of the world will suffer. But having said all of that, 2023 going into 2024, we've seen a bit of economic stability, and we've seen some marginal growth. The economy is recovering after a decline post-COVID. Last year, 2023, global economy grew by about 3.1%, which is good. But supply chain challenges still continue to persist, mainly because some young boys are attacking ships along the Red Sea, and therefore most transporters and shipping entities are looking for other alternatives of getting their cargo from other parts of the world to this part of the world, and that is going to cost a bit more. So for those who are reliant on that, you should know that the cost of doing business is likely to go up, not as a result of your economy or anything, but because some people somewhere have decided that they want to attack ships and make a living out of that. But despite all of that, IMF World Bank is expecting global GDP to grow in 2024 by about 3%, which is good. And we expect some moderate growth across the BRICS nations. The BRICS nations are Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. These 5 nations also play a critical role. Together, they are about 9% of the global economy. And they are also huge. And the decisions that they make also have an impact on the other parts of the world. But despite all of that, you should also be looking at the unstoppable trends that will continue over the next year, over the next 2 years, whether you like it or not. As I already mentioned, trade deficit of US is likely to continue to rise, more especially when China now dominates the electric vehicle market. Used to be dominated by the USA. You know, Tesla was a major leader in the electronic vehicle space. In recent years, in the last year and a half, China has taken over. And China is huge to the extent that electric vehicle manufacturers in the US are complaining and speaking to the Biden administration to put in some trade policies to protect their businesses. So it's not only in developing countries and emerging economies that call on their governments to protect their business. Even the US, it is happening. India is on course to become the 3rd dominant force in global economy. So for those of you who are into business, you should be looking at India, because India is becoming huge. And in the next 3 years, India will be number 3. in the next 5 years, if China should continue the way they are going, we expect China to be at par to the US. And then India is likely to be a major third force when it comes to global economy. So doing business in India or with Indian partners is one of the good ways to look at sustaining your business now and into the future. You should know that there's no level playing field in any market. The US people are looking at protecting their market. It's the same with United Kingdom. In the last 2 days, there have been heavy activities in France, occasioned by farmers who are on strike. They've blocked roads. So in almost every part of the economy, there is an issue. Every part of the world, there is an issue. And it is going to continue into 2024 because of elections that's likely to come up in major countries. Competition for jobs amongst countries is also going to intensify. Remember that the guy that you see as a talent that you are looking to employ in Ghana, somebody else is sitting in the UK, in the US, in Canada, and is looking for the same talent. So battle for talent is not only local now. Now it's internationalized. So if you are looking for good people, you should be ready to pay some good money, and you should be ready to provide the right environment to let them flourish and work. Otherwise, the youth will all move out and look for better opportunities in other countries. And we are also seeing a trend of shortage of high-performing middle and upper-level managers. It's becoming a problem. In Ghana, we've seen that trend. In other countries, it is showing that we are not getting the best of managers, especially within the middle and upper level. For the factory hands, you have thousands of them, you have millions of them. But those in the middle, upon whose shoulders your business will rise over the next decade or so, seems to be in shortage. So you have to find a way of looking for the right people, going to the right institution, get them early as they are getting out of school, and you need to spend some amount of money and resources in training them and getting them to the level where you want them to be. And you need to find a way of tying them up to the organization in a way that you don't train them and then they leave you. You also have to explore usership instead of ownership. It is not every asset that you have to acquire. It's not everything that you need that you have to physically own. You have to explore opportunities of using assets that you don't own. So right of use is becoming a norm across major players, that instead of buying, they are leasing. And one entity that has done this so well, so well, is Emirates. Emirates, for the year ending 31st March 2024, in 2 months' time, they will be releasing their results. But in the last 9 months, they've seen a growth, a top line growth of about 11% and a bottom line growth of about 6%. And they are expected to deliver 4 billion in profit this year. One of the things that they've done and done so well is to acquire airplanes without buying the engine. So what they have done is they have the airplanes, the Airbuses, the Boeings, and all of that. But what they've done with some of the negotiation is they buy the plane without the engine, and GE owns the engines that fly the Emirates Airlines. So we call that usership instead of ownership. It saves you a lot of money, and you can put those saved resources into other parts of your company. Also, explore deliverables instead of presenteeism. I'll tell you somewhere along the line that research has shown that 25% to 30% of your employees are a bottleneck. They don't add anything to your business. What it means is that if you do a proper human capital alignment across your organization, you can easily take out 20 to 25% to 30% of your people without impacting your revenue potential and your revenue ability. Because most people are present in the organization, but they deliver nothing. So focus on deliverables instead of presenteeism. And you can do this through technology. We'll talk about technology a bit in the course of the conversation. And I say technology is king, and I'll explain why that is so. Also, the young men and women that you think will be the ones to move your company to the next level are also looking at going to start their own business. There is this prosperity teaching that is all over Africa. And that prosperity teaching teaches the fact that if you want to be someone of influence, then be an entrepreneur. So a lot of the young ladies and the young men who have a bright future or a bright career in the corporate world are branching into entrepreneurship and doing their own business. So self-employment is growing. The question for business leaders is, how do you arrest that and keep that high-performing employee within your organization for as long as you want to? The fight is not just B2B battle, but there's also C2C battle, country to country battle. And countries are fighting real hard. And they think that the future of any country will be secured by three very important things. One is technology, two is people, and three is natural resources. Within the continent that you operate in, 2 and 3, we have it. Our competitive edge as a continent, our competitive edge as a country is people and natural resources. The competitive edge for developing countries or developed countries and the West is mainly technology. And it's about how we balance the three. And as an entity, as a company, you have to look at how you are going to balance this dynamics in order to create the future that you want to create for your business. Within Africa, I would say that Africa is a hotbed of growth, a hotbed of growth. My research reveals that there are 407 companies in Africa that deliver an annual revenue in excess of $1 billion. Africa is not such a small and useless continent that some people may want other people to believe. So 407 companies in Africa deliver revenues, annual revenues of more than 1 billion each. That is the nature of the competitive landscape in Africa. I also know that 700 companies make revenues in excess of 500 million every year per annum. So there are 1,100 companies in Africa. And when I said this to some people the other day, they were surprised. They didn't know that Africa has such huge entities, that there are 1,100 companies in Africa that deliver annual revenues of more than 500 million per annum. And 407 of them deliver more than 1 billion per annum. So we have the businesses here, we have the enterprises here. It's about how we leverage it to control what we have to control in making Africa a competitive place to do business. Africa is growing much faster. And the 1,100 companies that I've mentioned, 55% of them are more profitable than their global peers. 55% of them. Tesla makes operating profit of 6% per annum. 6% per annum. That's how much Tesla makes. But it is huge. Microsoft is $3 trillion business. That is the value of Microsoft today. But its profit ranges between 11% and 18% per annum. These companies that I'm talking about are doing an average of 19 to 23% per annum. So it's a good place to do business. The opportunities are huge here, and I'll explain that as we move along. In the last 5 years, smartphone connections in Africa have exceeded 650 million. Population estimated about 1.3, 1.4 billion. 50% of the people in Africa, each person has a smartphone and has a smartphone connection some way, somehow. So it's an environment that is ripe with opportunities that you have to leverage on. There are about 185 million active users of mobile financial services in Africa. Active users of mobile financial services in Africa. So 15 to 20% of Africans use mobile financial services. What does it mean? For every 10 people that you see in Africa, at least 2 of them have ever used a mobile financial services before. Internet traffic to Africa has increased 7-fold in the last 5 years. So there are increasing opportunities here. Slowing population across several continents. China has a big problem with population. So is India. But in Africa, of the 1.3 billion people that we have, 35% of them, the majority of them are below the age of 35. But remember that Africa is chaotic. And for every entrepreneur and for every business enterprise, you should know that you are likely going to prosper more in a chaotic environment than in a stable environment. Because in chaotic environment, you have infrastructure gaps, you have economic challenges. And these two are enablers of growth in any environment that you see. There is political stability in Africa. Despite the coups in some of the Francophone countries, we can say that generally Africa has been politically stable. The only challenge that we have is that we have reactive political leadership. And if we are able to change that into proactive political leadership, in the next 5 to 10 years, Africa will be a huge partner at the table. So having dealt with global, about some of the unstoppable trends, talked about Africa, now let's come to Ghana, and then we can deal with our 9 nutrients. Let's discuss Ghana, my thoughts on Ghana. Look, we have a stable economy. It's not a flourishing economy, but we can say that the economy is stable. Although it is still in intensive care, I think it is still quite stable. Most of the indicators seem to be trending upwards. So that is positive that some of the indicators are trending upwards. We have expected inflows of about 1.1 billion coming into Ghana, 1.1 billion. The IMF is giving us 600 million. I'm told that that has hit the accounts of Bank of Ghana. We are expecting another 300 million from World Bank. That gives us 900 million. And we are expecting another 200 million from some other bilateral partners in the course of the year. So all through, we are expecting close to 1.1 billion coming in from external sources. And that hopefully will help transition our economy into a recovery mode. Inflation seems to be slowing gradually. It's not moving as fast as we wanted, but it's slowing well. Now it's about 23.2%, comparing the fact that a few months ago, we were in excess of 50%. We are currently at 23.2%. Monetary policy rate, however, is very high. That is what makes cost of doing business very expensive. Monetary policy rate, the rate at which Bank of Ghana lends to banks is currently about 30%. And that obviously is going to impact on interest rates. So the bank will be lending to you above 30%. And that is why you can see that TB rate, Treasury bill rate, is also seems to be going very high because the monetary rate is high. And all of that is influencing borrowing rates. And now you can't borrow at less than 32%. If you're a big institution and a big organization, you can negotiate better, but you can't get anything less than 32% as an individual or as a small business trying to borrow. Our biggest problem is in manufacturing. Manufacturing in Ghana is still in decline. And what has been holding us has also been services. And services too is slowing in growth. And other sectors are also flat. So we have a challenge with the private sector. This point is an indicator of how the private sector is really suffering. As a result of the private sector being weak, government now becomes a key driver of economic activities. And 81% of all economic activities are influenced by government. If you run a hotel and you do an analysis, you realize that most of your revenues are coming from government either directly or from state-owned organizations. Whatever you do, you realize that close to 80–90% of your revenue, the source of that revenue is government somehow. So when an economy is driven by government activities. It means that the private sector has seriously been squeezed out because everyone is doing business with government and no one is doing business with the private sector. And that is a big problem that we have in Ghana, that hopefully the right policies should be able to reverse. You also know that 2024 is an election year. So there is battle for political leadership. And the battle for political leadership is obviously going to impact on economic activities. I'm not too sure how much of the 1.1 billion will go into politics, but a lot of that money will go into politics. Contractors will be paid because government needs to release close to 500 million to contractors this year. And I can bet you that government will do that because they need the economy to be fluid, for money to be in the system, so political activities can be enhanced. So you see that happening. There is liquidity management also across all sectors. I mean, if you are a person, you have to conserve cash. You have to conserve cash. If you are a business, you have to look at how you can protect your liquidity. If it means extending credit with your suppliers without damaging the relationship, it is the way to go. Extend credit with suppliers without damaging relationships. So whilst you are getting some flexibility with your suppliers, you have to be a bit mean with your customers and put in the right structures to make sure that whilst customers are paying you within 30, 60 days, you are probably paying your suppliers within 90 to 120 days. So you can get some liquidity to play around. But I can also say that the banking sector seems to be recovering well after the cleanup. Between 2021 and 2022, deposit mobilization by the banks increased by 37 billion. Between 2022 and 2023, it's increased by 43 billion. So the deposit sitting, both deposit refers to balances of customers sitting on the balance sheet of banks as we speak, is equivalent to 200 billion. And when the banks are strong, then they'll be able to lend and take risks that they wouldn't take if they were not in a position to mobilize cash. You also have to pay attention to consumer spending. And if you are in a business that is into B2C, pay attention. Consumers are spending in 4 critical areas. 85% of consumer spending is in the retail sector. So places like Palace, places like Melcom, places like Makola Market, people are spending a lot there. Food, there's a lot of spending in food. So if you are in the food and beverage sector, in the hospitality sector, your business is expected to continue to boom. Clothing, people are spending a lot on clothing and people are spending on domestic necessities. Domestic necessities refers to power, water, basic security, basic things that are necessary to keep a home. So that's what people are spending on. And as a result of people spending here, disposable incomes for other activities seems to be a bit strained. So you need to factor all of this in developing your strategy and your plan in how you are able to extract a lot more money from your consumers and your customers. Banks are hesitant in lending and consumers are careful in borrowing. So unlike the past, a few years ago, banks were chasing businesses and individuals to give them loans. It is not so again. So they are very hesitant in lending, and they do a lot of analysis these days to make sure that when they give you the money can come back. Consumers too, because borrowing rate is in excess of 30%, is around 32%. If you are lucky, maybe you can negotiate better below 30%. Consumers too are careful in borrowing. As a result of that, the economy is actually being driven by the elites instead of being driven by the masses. In any economy where it is driven by the elites, you have a big problem. It is when the masses spend that the economy booms. So there's a principle, we call it wealth at the bottom of the pyramid, because that's where wealth is. And if that pyramid expands without a capacity to spend, then the whole economy seems to be in trouble. So having said all of that, how do I summarize the possible happenings in 2024? I think that in 2024, one of four things will happen. And the one of four things that will happen will be influenced by two very important elements. One is election-driven decisions or economic-driven decisions. 81% of the economy is driven by government. So we have to look and see what sort of decisions that political leaders will make. Will political leaders in 2024 make decisions that are driven by elections, or they will just be making decisions that are driven by economy? What decisions will they make? We have to keep an eye on that. And depending on the decisions that they make, 2024, I can say will be summarized. I can summarize it in 4 blocks. The first block is what I call stagflation. Stagflation is a situation where the inflation that we saw, or currently we are 23%, will not go down any further. Please also note that for economies such as ours, we can say we have turned the corner if inflation is around 9 to 11%. Note that any inflation above 11% for an economy such as ours, businesses will be in trouble and people will be in trouble. So the benchmark for determining whether we have turned the corner, we are okay, and at the right place is our level of inflation. So stagflation is a situation where inflation is going up, 23% is high, unemployment is also high, and people are basically not in a position to spend. And that's one possible scenario in 2024. And all driven by the kind of decisions that political leaders make. The second part is what I call soft landing. With the decision enable us to land softly. And soft landing is a situation where we see interest rates coming down, prime rates coming down, inflation coming down, and the economy beginning to spend. And spending not in non-productive activities, but spending in productive activities. So once we see inflation trending downwards, we see interest rates trending downwards, we see prime rates being reduced significantly, more than a 500 percentage points at the next MPC meeting, then we can say that we are beginning to create a situation where we'll be able to land softly. Or are we going to see growth? The 1.1 billion, what will government be using it for? If the 1.1 billion is all going to go into infrastructure, is going into education, is going into health, and we say these are the 3 places that we want to put our 1.1 billion, then that is significantly going to influence growth. Because in an economy such as ours, it is when there is investment in infrastructure, government is constructing roads, hospitals, schools, and all of that. It booms the economy, it grows the economy. The wayside seller can go and sit there and sell. Businesses will begin to boom. Would they make a decision in investing the 1.1 billion in investing activities that will grow the economy? Will interest rate come down significantly? Are we going to see the 9 to 11% by end of the year? If that is going to happen, then the possible scenario that I'm painting is that there will be an element of growth. If any of these 3 do not happen, then you are going to see what happened in 2022 happening in 2024. Inflation is going to balloon because the 1.1 billion is being used in ventures that are not productive. So you see a reacceleration of what we witnessed last year. And this is going to happen if political leaders become reckless, careless, and do not put the resources within the right environment to generate the right returns. So one of these is highly possible, but from what I see and what I hear them say, if their language and their actions will be aligned, then I can say that 2024 will be a year of soft landing or a year of growth. However, if their actions do not align with what they say, then it is likely we are going to see stagflation or we are going to see a reacceleration happen in 2024. So as business leaders, we should be guided that one of these four can happen. And therefore, what do I have to do? And I'm going to tell you about 9 things that I think you can do, you should focus on over the next 11 months or so to build the buffers and the foundation to be able to accommodate any of these things if it does happen. Good. So at this point, if there are some comments, and I want to read a few comments and some questions if they are here. Do we have any questions? Okay. No, I'm talking about the on chat. Okay. All right. So let me say that I can't see any questions, any comments. So yeah. Unless anyone wants to ask anything at this stage, if you want to ask anything, any questions, otherwise, if it's okay to continue, if it's okay to continue, you can just give me a thumbs up and then I can continue.
So can I be heard?
Someone is asking something, but we can't hear you here.
Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you now. We can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay, so I want to add my voice to the shortage of talent, global shortage of talent, and I'm reading around. I'm talking about. In fact, there are people. But we'll say
it's not clear. You are talking about global shortage of talent.
They are, but it's like our system is demanding that they come here physically to stay. And so I'm very happy with the platform, the fact that now
oh, okay. We can't hear again.
Amongst
okay.
Better.
Oh.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, but your line is breaking. So reposition yourself. Reposition yourself. Someone wants me to talk about soft landing. So reposition yourself, and then I can explain the soft landing again. Reposition yourself. I'll come back to you, and I'll open up for more some questions and some comments. But let me explain the soft landing. Soft landing is basically a principle, or let me say a practice or a framework, whatever word you may want to use is fine, that basically makes it possible for businesses, individuals, and organizations to move on their growth objectives without being hindered by external economic factors. And that's only possible if the factors within are okay. So I said that one of the things that we are seeing happening in Ghana, for example, has to do with the level of inflation, which is in excess of 23%. The monetary policy rate, the rate at which the central Bank of Ghana, lends to the commercial banks is around 30%. And then you have interest rates by commercial banks to individuals or organizations in excess of 32%. If we see that going down, and we see the economy picking up, So in the last few months, for example, I think that energy prices have been fairly stable. If we see that happening, then organizations can say that there is some lights at the end of the tunnel. You only have to ensure that there's not a moving train coming in the opposite direction. But if you can see light at the end of the tunnel, then as an organization and as a person, you can make some investments. You can go on a growth tangent, expand your business because the potential for growth is there. For example, you can start making investments now that are expected to yield results in the next 2 or 3 years. You can start taking some risk, etc. So that is basically a scenario that is likely to happen. And I said that out of the 4, from my analysis of what has been happening in the last 10 years or so, the last decade in Ghana, I think that we've gotten to a point where in 2024, soft landing or growth is more likely. But we should also be guided that stagflation is also possible because unemployment is still high. Inflation is still high, and we only hope that the managers of the economy will not make any decisions that will make it worse than it is now. And if that happens, then we are going back to the old days, and it is a reacceleration back into the pit. So I am standing on 2. Soft landing 54. And growth is what is more likely in 2024. More likely in 2024. Okay. Let me continue. I'll still offer time for some. Yes.
I'm audible now, so I just corroborate the point on the global sector.
Say hi again, yes.
Yes.
Yes. So I said I was very happy you touched on it because I had an experience where we are looking for a very rare talent, and the person said she lives in Germany. That's where she would live, but will come in quarterly. She would be online, do everything she wanted.
Okay.
But it looks like it doesn't fit well with the system we have now. But I believe we need to change. We need to change our organization and have this mindset that today the search for talent is so global. And like you were saying, we cannot bottle people up and say this is where I want you to take from 8 to 5. We need to focus rather on the delivery, the impact. What are they doing to impact the organization? And then how is that impact and how is it
check it and move it to yourself.
Our plans and program. That rather should be the focus and an awakening for all of us to start thinking that way and not think the old way where we have people all gathered around our tables, see their faces every day and they are satisfied. Yet the output of those people physically present cannot take us home. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, madam. I'm going to touch on the people again shortly. I'll touch on the people again. There's a question from Edwin. I'm going to answer it in one of the nutrients. I'll deal with it shortly. So if you allow me to get there, then I can answer your question that you've put on the chat in the chat box shortly. This thing is not moving again. What's happening? Okay, all right. So now, as I move along, this is, I have 3 very important statements for 2024 that I need you to reflect on. And I'm saying that working harder, longer, and with more resources and input is never a guarantee of success. And I'm going to explain something that I have worked on, and I call it the tragedy of abundance. And then the mystery of limitations is somewhere. So as I move on, I'll talk about it on the back of this, my statement here. Okay. So if I ask you, please, if you can go into your the chat box, and put what you think it is. If I ask you that, define the five critical drivers of success or failure of a business. It doesn't have to be in any order. Just go into the chat box and share with me your 5 drivers. What do you think are the 5 drivers of success or failure of any business? Quickly, please, let's all go into the chat box and put your thoughts there. The five drivers of success from where you sit. There's no right or wrong answer, please. Just list your 5 drivers in the chat box. In the chat box, in 1 minute, just list your, what you think are the 5 critical drivers for success in your view. Good. It's coming through. I see innovation there. People, innovation, succession planning, empowerment, service excellence. Super. I see technology, people, emerging risk, modern trends, etc. Good. Any other, please? No right or wrong answer. Just put your thoughts there. What do you think are the 5 critical drivers for business success? Effective management, customer focus, business strategy, corporate structure, technology, risk management. Super, super, super. We have diligence coming up. Great. Market, talent, technology. Super. We are getting there. All the thoughts are coming through. Let's get some more. Talent, technology. Even if it's 1, just put it there. Market, people, technology, leadership, innovation. Super. Technology, innovation, right partnership, market. We have 30 seconds more. Process and systems, innovation, strong talents, technology. Leadership, technology. Super. Cash flow and focus. Good, 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 good. So let me get back. So there are 5 very important elements that holds true no matter the business you are in. No matter the business you are in, there are 5 very important elements that holds true. And these 5, apart from all the rest that you are going to do, are critical for the success of a business. The first one, and I have shown a picture that looks like a small supermarket. And the first element that drives success for any business is the market the business is in. Some markets are naturally profitable. Some markets are naturally not profitable. So the first thing that you have to ask yourself in 2024 is, what markets are we in? And you have to define the market in the right context. Okay? And some markets, as I said, are profitable, and some markets are not profitable. So you take in the media space, you take pay TV, for example. The pay TV market space is very profitable. It's a very profitable market space. Pay TV, very profitable market space. In the last year or so, and this will blow your mind, in the last year or so, Netflix, and I'm sure you know Netflix. Netflix has added the equivalent of 133,000 subscribers a day to its platform. It's a highly profitable enterprise. You know, you take the airline industry. The airline industry averages net profit between 3 and 8% per annum. That is the average. So if you are in that industry, you are capped between 3 to 8%. Then there are some industries which is like the waste management market space, where you can do a net profit in excess of 28% consistently every month. It's defined by the market. And then there's the banking sector. The banking sector. The average bank in Ghana makes a profit of 32%. 32%. Think of it, 32%. The average bank in Ghana. It's in the last few years that has been disrupted a bit, but that is it. So market is the most important element in defining the success or the failure of the business that you are in, the market. That's number one. The second, you see it on the left there. On the left there, you see something there, and then it's like a business class or first class in Emirates. The second that defines the success or failure of your business is the service or solutions that you offer. Please note that we have moved from products. Even if you sell a physical product, in this modern era, we define market in the area of solutions and services. So even if you sell a physical product, you are even into the automobile market, you sell cars, you don't have to look at it as you are selling the products. The question is, what sort of service are you offering? What solutions are you offering that will enable your customers to come back to you? Repeat business is very critical in this age. If you are going to drive and deliver on your targets and objectives, please know that repeat business is very, very important. So the first is the market. The second is the service. Some will say product, but I say services or solutions. Even if it's a product, see it as a solution. So the solutions or the service that you provide is the second most important element in you becoming successful or you becoming a failure. The third most important element is the leadership. The leadership that you have running the organization. I didn't talk about leaders. Note that I said is the leadership. And leadership must be demonstrated at all levels. It must be demonstrated at all levels of the organization, all levels of the organization, from the front desk, from the security gate to the front desk, to the main organization, to the boardroom. At each step of the way, the organization must demonstrate leadership. It is the demonstration of leadership that brings your customers back to you. And I'll talk about the customer mix shortly. The fourth element that would define your success or failure is your strategy, the how. Your how is critical. Remember that strategy is a culture. Strategy is a culture. When you walk into any organization, the culture of the organization defined by the strategy of the organization is what you see when you walk in. So how we do things is your strategy. So your strategy is a critical component in defining your success or failure. And number five, your people. On the right-hand side, left, right-hand corner, your people. And I've showed you there the factory of Foxconn. Foxconn, that's the factory of Foxconn and the people. So the five things that drive, all the other things are supports. The five pillars that you must have, you must know that defines my success or failure as a business. One is the market. Two is the service or solution. Three is the leadership that I have in the organization. Four is the how I am doing things differently than all my other competitors, although we are in the same market, and it's defined by your strategy. And the last one are the people who are the executors or whatever you want to do, and who are the interface between your solutions, your services, and your consumers and your customers. So these five will always drive how your business is going to end. And then you support it with the other elements that you have posted in the chat box, technology, innovation, and all of that. Your support in respect of the five, very important elements. So you can be a very hard-working man with all the ideas. You are in the wrong market. You might never grow. You are in the wrong market. And somebody may not have the right ideas, may not be as intelligent as you are, is in the right market. So that is why people say one of the things that easy to do is that it's so easy to run a bank, for example. Somebody will say that. A friend was telling me, yesterday I met a guy who left the bank, said he saw that it was too easy a job, so he wanted more challenging, he left the bank. And this is an executive director of a bank. I've shown you another picture there, which is very important in developing your plans and your strategy. You see a man and a woman, they seem to be driving in opposite directions. Please note this. The external and the internal must all come together in developing your plan or your strategy. The internal and the external must all come together in defining your strategy. So whereas the internal is critical, the external is crucial in creating the success that you need. So let's talk about the 9 quickly in the next 20 minutes, and then we'll use the last 10 minutes to have some discussions and answer some questions. Nutrient number one. I call something the cancer of the Icarus paradox. The cancer, first step is avoid, especially for organizations that are very successful. Avoid the cancer. There is a cancer that eats up organizations. And that cancer that eats up organizations and eats up people is being victim of your past successes. The fact that you were successful yesterday doesn't mean that you'll be successful today, because the environment and the elements that made you successful yesterday do not exist today. So, as I say, you cannot use the knowledge of yesterday to cure the problem of today. Today's problem can only be cured with the knowledge of the future. So if you've been very successful as an individual, you've been very successful as a person, and being successful means as a person you are sleeping only 5 hours a day, the market is becoming more competitive and you have to reduce that to 4 hours a day. So don't be a victim of your past successes. An historical formula can never ever define the future. The historical formula, the formula that was used in solving the problem yesterday, cannot be used in solving the problem of tomorrow. So my favorite football coach, football manager, is my very favorite. It's called Jose Mourinho. Jose Mourinho, in the last, I'll say 6 to 8 years, is using a formula he used 20 years ago that today does not work. So he's not getting the successes that he got many years ago. As a company, as an individual, you can only change this habit if you are real and truthful. Be real and truthful. And being real and truthful demands 3 things. Number 1, you embrace your red flags. There are always red flags. If people are leaving your organization, you must ask yourself why people are leaving the organization. And sometimes we point fingers at things that are not really the reason. So you have to be real, you have to be truthful, you have to embrace your red flags. And having embraced your red flags, there are 2 questions that you need to ask. 2 questions. One is to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, I don't know. And to be able to seek for help. Most organizations have died because they sought for help too late in the day, And that is why an organization like Nokia collapsed. An organization like Heritage Bank, I can tell you for a fact because I did some work around it, collapsed because they sought help too late. When we're telling them to seek help, it took them 4 months to take the decision to seek help. And by that time, the people at the central bank had already made up their mind what they wanted to do. So you need to seek help and seek it early. And it is this I don't know and seeking help is what saved an organization like Omnibank getting into an alliance with Sahara, then BSIC or so bank, and now is recovering on its way to becoming a very competitive bank in Ghana. I told you about the tragedy of abundance. Avoid the cancer of Akerros paradox. If you have too much, sometimes you may make decisions that will bring the entire joint down. If you have very little, it puts you on your toes to innovate, to be creative, to be a critical thinker, and to take very difficult and hard decisions. So you need to be guided, but that in 2024, the first thing that we need to do and be guided, the first nutrient for success is to avoid the cancer of the Akerros paradox. The second thing is to focus on what matters. So in your organization, what matters? To focus on what matters. What matters in your organization? And I think that for 2024, every organization should be bordered by 4 critical things. 4. Focus on these 4. Don't focus on these too many things. The first thing that you have to focus on is revenue. Revenue. How do I sustain what I did in 2023? And how do I double this in 2024? You have to look for big growth, not minor growth. So 2 questions. How do I protect and sustain what I did in 2023, keep it in the bag? And how do I double that? How do I deliver a double-digit growth in 2024? The first thing that you should focus on should be revenue. And I'll talk about this in one of the other nutrients as I move on. The second thing that you should focus on is gross profit. Please, gross profit. Gross profit is a very important indicator of the health of a business. If we want to determine the health of a business and the quality of leadership, the indicator for that is your gross profit. The rate at which you are able to turn your inputs into value to generate margins for the business. Don't worry about net profit. I'll talk about something else, but think about gross profit and ensure your gross profit is consistent. If your gross profit is 45%, it must always be consistent. Anytime it drops, it's a red flag. Anytime your gross profit drops, it's a red flag. So keep an eye on your gross profit and make sure that you monitor it and ensure it is growing. If it is not growing, sustain it at a level. But anytime gross profit drops, it's an indicator of your pricing policy being a problem, discounts coming in, inventory not in the right order, and you being basically unable to turn your input cost into value. The third thing you should focus on is economic profit, not net profit. Net profit is a deceiver. Net profit is a deceiver. Economic profit is an indicator of how well the company is doing. Net profit is an indicator of how the business is doing from an accounting point of view. Economic profit is an indicator of how the business is doing from a value point of view. From an accounting point of view, net profit works. From a value point of view, economic profit works. What is economic profit? Economic profit is the profit in excess of your return on invested capital. How much have you put into the business? In all resources, in people, in investment, in assets, all of that. If the MPC rate is 30%, and banks are borrowing at 32%, and TB rate is 28%, if you are doing anything less than this rate, you are basically destroying value. You are diluting value. Net profit will give you an indicator. The difference between your net profit, and what the weighted average cost of capital is, let me take out the weighted average, and what the cost of capital is, becomes your economic profit. So for managers, you always have to ask your finance managers. You said that we've made a profit of 22%, all good, but what is our economic profit? Accounting profit is good. It's an indicator of the performance of the business from an operational point of view, but economic profit is an indicator of the value performance of the business, value performance of the business. And then finally, the fourth thing that you need to pay attention to is cash. Cash is king. Please pay attention to cash. Cash, cash, how much cash is coming in? Is cash going up? Is cash going down? Pay attention to your cash flows and see the trend of cash. Look at your cash balance, look at your payables balance. And at any point of time, check the difference between your cash balance or your payable balance and find out whether the cash that you have, the Japanese have a system of growing businesses. And let me tell you that in Japan, most business use the principle of 7. What does it mean? If any business has debts of 70,000 or more, in other words, its liabilities exceed its cash by 70,000. In Japan, it is assumed that the business is not doing well. It's not doing well. So you can use that same principle and say, and in Japan, one of the other principles they use is that cash balance at any point in time must be equivalent to 15 months of payroll cost. Your cash balance at any point in time must be equivalent to 15 months of your payroll cost. That is an indicator from a Japanese point of view of how healthy the organization is. So you see how their businesses seem to flourish. And I've given you my second quote there. These are things that I use myself in my business and measuring other businesses. Productivity is measured as the relationship between your gross profit and your total people cost to the business. I see people calculating revenue per employee. Please, that is a wrong metrics for calculating and assessing how employees are contributing to the growth of the business. Take the revenue out and bring it down to your gross profit, because your gross profit is a net after taking care of your input costs. So number 2, focus on what matters. Number 3, lead and manage with intensity. Lead and manage with intensity. So there I ask you one simple question. Are you in a position to lead with compass without a map? Assuming we put a compass in your hand, but we fail to give you the map. Are you in a position to lead? Ask yourself that question. Am I in a position to lead without a map? A, B, C, not available. Will I be able to function effectively? That is what it means. Assuming they lift me from this organization and they plant me in another organization, will I be able to function effectively? The ability to lead with a compass but without a map is an indicator of how intense you can lead as a manager. So lead with intensity and be deep in the operational details of the business. I say that, look, between you, if you're a manager, you're a functional head, between you and the consumer, even at the very top, there should be only one layer between you and the consumer. That is deep immersion into the operational details of the business. You put your head in, you put your heart in, and you have a hands-on approach to leading. So lead this year with intensity. Take decisions in real time. Number 3, prune the team. Prune the team and recruit for the future. Prune your team. Please, 20 to 25% of your team members today are unproductive. They are a bottleneck. Your responsibility is to identify and prune them. Identify and prune them. And recruit talent for the future. Don't recruit talent for today. Don't recruit a talent because you have a problem today you want him to fix. Recruit a talent because that talent can give you results, performance, innovation over the next 3 to 5 years. So recruit talent for the future. So I say recruit the smart person, recruit the right person, put him in the right role, and make sure that the environment is right. I have mentioned this somewhere. Who is a smart person? When you are recruiting, who is a smart person? A smart person is anybody who is curious. If you have people in your organizations who are always asking questions, why didn't you do it this way? Could have done it this way. That is a curious person. That person is always active and engaged. Curious people are brave. Engaged people who are brave, who are inquisitive, who speak their minds, who are ready to explore. The right person is agile, is a creative thinker, is a growth champion. I've mentioned this somewhere. Is a truth teller. People who are not political, who say it as it is with the right forum, not in any other, in the right forum. He voices out his concerns, he shares his views without fear or favor. He's a customer steward. He speaks for the customer. He understands the customer. He wants to go the extra mile for the customer. He's a right customer. He's a right person. He's an effective executor. You give him an assignment and he executes without any problems. He executes. Even if he doesn't have the solution, he goes, looks for the solution. That is the right person. He's committed and is very loyal to purpose. He's committed and very loyal to purpose. I didn't say committed and loyal to vision. I say committed and loyal to purpose, not to vision, but to purpose. He must follow, he must buy into the vision, but his overreaching commitment must be the fact that the purpose for which this organization was established must always hold true. Number 5, collaboration. Collaboration, collaboration. Collaboration is the key to unlock growth. Please note that kids and women are becoming key decision makers. Kids and women are becoming key decision makers. So if your business involves 7 kids and 7 women, or in activities that kids and women are influential, then your business is likely to grow. The customer today is more empowered than he was yesterday. And I say co-create with consumers, co-create with consumers, co-create with consumers. So there are 7 levels of consumers, but I'll mention 3. A group that we call the adopters, the adorers, and the stars. Get them involved in your decision making. You want to make some critical decisions, new products, new services, bringing new revenue into the market, etc. Identify your adopters, identify your adorers, identify your stars, and co-create the products with them. They are the greatest ambassadors that you can have. They are the people who, word of mouth, sell your business for you, who makes references for you. They are ambassadors. So look for them and work with them. As regards competitors, coexist with competitors. Create a network, you are able to coexist with competitors. Always outsource in your areas that you lack competitive advantage. Identify the area you lack competitive advantage, and please, please, please work with competitors in areas where you lack competitive advantage. Use them to serve your needs. Always use them to serve your need. And then finally, pipeline businesses are dying. Platform businesses are flourishing. Pipeline businesses are dying. Platform businesses are flourishing. Google is a platform. Facebook is a platform. Uber is a platform. Yango is a platform. Netflix is a platform. Look at their performance. Microsoft is a platform. It's not a pipeline. Microsoft is a platform. So look at all these organizations and see how they are flourishing. And turn your part of your business, some aspect of your business, from direct pipeline, selling to customers, now becoming platform. Be the platform. Let everybody come to you. Have something that everybody needs, in the industry in order to grow. And as I said, usership is the way to go. Ownership is an old model. Usership is the new model. What it means is that asset light can accelerate growth. Your growth can go through the roof because you are not using your resources to buy assets. We call it asset light. So collaboration, nutrient number 5, is key to unlock growth. Then ride on the wave of technology. You know this already. Ride always on the wave of technology. Technology is supposed to do 3 basic things. Improve your processes and productivity. 1, improve your processes and productivity, 1. 2, make you competitive. 3, define the future for you. If technology, any technology you have deployed is not meeting these 3 needs, I am sorry to say you have wasted money. Processes and productivity, make you competitive, and create a situation where you are able to define the future. AI. Don't be an expert in AI. Be a user of what AI offers. Don't think about being an expert, just being a user. How do we ride on the back of artificial intelligence to impact our business? Research has shown that AI business impact is between 2.6 trillion and 4.4 trillion per annum. 2.6 trillion to 4.4 trillion per annum. The question is, are you going to get a share of this? Or you are just in there, wherever the air blows you, you go. So take this AI thing very seriously and work on it. Number 7, innovate to survive and grow. Innovate to survive and grow. Innovation must only offer 3 things. You innovate to improve your revenues, you innovate to enhance your profits, and you innovate to change the customer experience. If innovation does not do any of this for you, you are just throwing money away and bringing people in the name of innovation who have nothing to offer. Innovation must offer 3 very important things. 1, must improve your revenues. You innovate to improve revenues. You innovate to enhance your profits. And you innovate to change and enhance the customer experience. So innovate to survive and grow is nutrients number 7. I want you to write this word. I can explain it later, but write this word down, ideas, IDEAS, ideas. And say that anytime you are going to innovate, you must innovate using the ideas principle which I've talked about this morning. Innovation must be inclusive. Innovation must be disruptive. Innovation must meet external reality. Innovation must develop an agile environment. Innovation is only possible through a simplified structure and systems. So I'll talk about it later if I have some more time. Nutrient number 8, be decisive. Be decisive, be decisive. Decisions must be around 3 important things. Decisions must be around 3 important things. The guy who runs Walmart oversees 1.5 million people, 1.5 million permanent employees, 700,000 contract employees, 2.2 million people work for Walmart. The guy sits in a small office behind a small desk and makes decisions that impact 3,000 shops across the United States of America and a further 2,000 in Europe and other places. Be decisive. How do you become decisive? Make sure that your decisions always does 3 things. Any decision you make must create a customer, retain a customer, or stimulate demand. So when you are going to make a decision, the question is, will this decision retain our customers? Number 2, will this decision create a new customer? Number 3, will this decision stimulate demand for our services, our products, and our solutions? Be decisive. To be decisive, you need data. Be data-driven. You need data. Data is a critical component for making decisions. And then don't make decisions alone. Dialogue and seek diverse views, but always make the decision yourself. The decision to go and capture Osama bin Laden was made by Obama alone after listening to over 25 different views he made the decision. Look, to make the right decision at the right time, it has to be digitally influenced. That's where technology is critical. And all decisions must be demand-driven. Demand-driven, because it must create a customer, it must retain a customer, or it must stimulate demand. Now, finally, number 9, in 2024, you have to reshape your strategy. Only 5 things must be in your strategy. Number 1, how do we deliver growth? That's the first thing. You get the slides. We'll send the slides. How do you deliver growth? I have some pointers there. Number 2, how do we build operational resilience? So I have qualified the word resilience, and I say you need operational resilience to survive this year and the years after. What internal capabilities have you built to accommodate the external realities for you to keep your competitive position? That is operational resilience. Number 3, you have to be innovative. Innovation is an integrated organizational culture driven by a deep sense of responsibility and commitment to turn ideas into value to remain relevant. Only 5 things must factor in your strategy. So it is time to reshape your strategy. Number 4, financial performance. Revenue, gross profit, economic profit, asset turnover, and liquidity. And finally, execution. The speed at which you execute. The people behind the operations, the people behind the execution is very important. So you need to take your strategy, which you developed last year for this year, and you need to test it along these 5 very important parameters. Is this strategy one that delivered growth? Is this strategy one that has at its core operational resilience for us to be able to meet the current operations? Is it in a position to meet our external realities and the rapidly changing environment? Is our strategy innovation driven? Are the financial performance and matrices for our strategy right? And do we have the people, the processes, the systems to execute the strategy? That is nutrient number 9. In conclusion, let me say that in 2024, you need continuous pragmatic changes and innovation to survive, continuous productivity and operational improvements, improve your systems, improve your structures, improve your processes. You need to spot high talents who are right for the organizations, who are smart, bring them in, develop them, and put them, please, put them in the right jobs and roles. Otherwise, you won't get the results. Build operational resilience. Prioritize spending and invest for the future. Anything that you want to do by July 2026, the investment must be made in 2024. Anything that you want to do, please, from July 2026, the investment must be made today. It takes a minimum 18 months for investment to show results. So the rule of impact, you have written something there, ROI. This is not return on investment. This is rule of impact, is that it takes a minimum of 18 months for whatever investment you are making today to have impact. So when you do your budget and you say my CAPEX is dependent on achieving this revenue in 2024, when you are making the investment in 2024, it's an exercise in futility because it's not going to happen. It takes a minimum of 18 months for that to happen. Economy will always rebound. Look, no matter what happens, the economy will always rebound. So always invest in the difficult periods. Don't withhold. Prioritize well and invest well, because over time, it will yield the results. Finally, the cash is always king. Cash is always king. My final words before I open up: the only true measure of a company's success and a peep into its future is cash, and an enduring culture of change, driven by the creativity and courage of her people to innovatively unearth today what is to be tomorrow. Thank you very much. I think we are right on time to end my presentation. We'll give some few minutes to take some questions. And if you can hear us, or then you can, what you can do is put your questions in the chat box, and I'll see it. Otherwise, if you have any questions, you can use the icon there to raise your hand, and then I think I'll call you. So let's take some questions and some comments. Comments to add, questions to ask, and put it in the chat box. So any questions, any comments, anything that you want to put in the chat box? The 9 nutrients for navigating 2024. Okay, we have a hand. Daniel Ansa, I see a hand up. I think you can ask your question, Daniel. Daniel, can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yes, Honorable, can I be heard, please?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so Honorable, thank you very much. Someone in the course of the presentation mentioned about recruiting smart and right persons for the
Yes.
organization. My question is that as organization, how do we create the environment to enable smart and right people to thrive? That's one. And then two, you also spoke about pruning the team, which is also critical. Now, my question is, how do we, again, create an environment where, in terms of pruning the team, it can be done quickly and fast so that the right people are not demotivated?
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. We have another hand. Let me take that. Eric's iPhone. I can see Eric's iPhone. If you can hear me, you can ask your question. I can see Eric's iPhone.
Honorable.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a great presentation, as usual. And when you mentioned the ingredients to succeed.
Yes.
On the second point, the focus on what matters.
Yes.
You highlighted the focus on revenue growth, gross profit.
Correct.
Economic profit. And as usual, cash is king.
Cash is king, yeah.
Yeah, I think, can we also add customer satisfaction? Because all these 4 areas that you highlighted is or are dependent on the customer.
Correct.
And the level of satisfaction will drive in the revenue growth.
Yes.
The gross profit, the economic profit, and also the cash that will come in. So I think this is my thought. If they can also focus on customer satisfaction, because once they are satisfied, then that's when the cash and the revenue and the gross profit and the economic profit will also come in. So it's just a little addition to that area.
I'll make some slight comment on that as well. I can see Aziz. Aziz, is it Aziz, huh? Aziz Ajadi.
Yes, Honorable.
Yes,
Honorable Aziz Ajadi. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so my question is regarding the pruning of the team.
Yes.
So I have this principle that bringing the whole team along, the team first. So if somebody in the team is not performing very well, it's not being productive to our expectations, helping the person to bring the person along so that we will be on the same page. So my question is, how do we reconcile that principle with pruning the team? Because, you want to bring everybody along and make sure everybody's at the same level in terms of being productive and promoting growth. So how do we reconcile the two?
Okay. All right. Super.
Thank you.
So let me try and answer the questions. I'll start with Daniel Answer's question on how do you get the smart and right people to flourish? How do you create an environment for them to flourish? These people don't need any borders and boundaries. That's number one. The right people, they don't need borders and boundaries. The right people need responsibilities and the space to perform. So you will see that if you bring in people into an organization, and the organization stifles the people's objectives, their career aspirations, their capacities, their capabilities, their abilities, they leave the organization. They leave, they exit. They don't stay for long. So I'll give you an example of one or two experiences that I've been told of friends who have recruited people from Ashasi University. Very young guys, hardworking, smart guys, right people. Put them in positions. They work for you 5 months, 6 months, 7 months. They see that the environment is not the right place to be. These are high flyers. What they do is that they leave. So you don't bring in the right person and cage the person. When environment cages people, the smart and right people will exit. And most of the time, it is the people who have spent a long period of their lives there who would stay, having some few more years to go, maybe 15 years, 10 years, they don't want to take much risk. If you're a man, you have a family, you have 3 kids, you're in school, you want stability, the environment, you don't like it, you're always complaining, but you are in there. But these young guys, smart, looking for an opportunity to do something that will make a change, if you cage them, they will leave. So the answer to that is that you don't cage these people. You give them an environment where they can flourish, allow them to make decisions on their own, and it grows. And I can give you organizations that are doing that, and you can see the impact. I mean, you can take a City FM today, and take a GH1 today, or take even a Joy today, and you can evaluate the people and see the extent to which the organizations are making serious impacts and progress as an organization. It's the people, it's the environment. Allow them, and they will do as you want them to do for you. The second thing, right, people, is the culture. You know, culture, the culture that you create within the organization is a culture that rewards high performance. It's a culture that prunes. So we have to set some parameters and say, look, when we do performance appraisals and performance reviews and all of that, people who are scoring below 60%, in some organizations, they raise it as high as 80%. They don't belong here. And everybody knows that in the days of Mr. Jack Welch, the madman, you know, in his days at General Electric, anybody who scores less than 90% in his performance appraisal is out of the door the following day. So you need to create some environment where it is open, it is plain, everybody knows, and we all know that if you don't perform up to a certain standard, you don't keep up the standard, you are out of the way. But if we don't do that, the more people will come in, they don't perform, we don't exit them, they stay, and remember, 20 to 25% of them, they become a bottleneck and they impact the whole organization. So they draw us back. It's like 5 people climbing a hill, each person with a backpack of 10 kilometers of weight, 10 kilos of weight in it, and one person has 25 kilos of weight in his. That person will draw everybody back. So for us to move at the same level, we have to share and hope that we all have the capability to move up the hill with that weight. I agree with Eric. Ingredient to succeed, one of them is customer service. But we captured this in one of 2. We said that under the elements for business success or failure, we talked about services and solutions. And I even said that if you are selling a car, it's a product. But in this age and era, it is not a physical product that you must see as selling. You are selling a service, and it comes with the customer service around it. And then somewhere also we said that the customer is more knowledgeable than he used to be years ago. Okay, so to meet the needs of the customers today, you must exceed their expectations. Meeting the needs of customers leads to stagnation. Exceeding the needs of customers leads to growth. You can only do this through customer service. So I think it's a valid point that I have to hammer on anytime I talk about these things, that customer service is key, and not only customer service, I would say the customer experience. Instead of customer service, let's put it customer experience. And customer experience is key and is the only way we can grow our business. Pruning the team. Look, if you are a leader, I'll tell you one truth today. One truth today. There is the fallacy of bringing everybody along. It is not possible. You cannot bring everybody along. In any organization, whether it's a department, you are leading a team of 5 people. You cannot say that I am going to bring all 5 people along. What you have to do is to identify a 2 or a 3. And the 2 or 3 will also identify a 1 or 2. And the 1 or 2 will also identify a 1 or 2. That is how we move. So as a leader, you can say it, oh, I want to bring everybody along. But you burn out. You will die. You know, so Moses was trying to be nice to everybody and bring everybody along. When his father-in-law, who had never seen God, never spoken to God, he told the man who is always speaking to God, this thing that you are doing, it is stupid. That is not how we run businesses. Select people you bring along, who are close to you, bring along. And let them also select people they will bring along. And let us also select people who bring along. So this idea of bring everybody along, it works. It's a good principle. But identify 1 or 2 or 3 key guys in it, who, if you bring along, are also in a position to bring other people along. That's the way it works. So that is the principle of bringing everybody along. The 2 or 3, Jesus chose a 12. I always say that, chose a 12. But when he has serious things to share, serious insights, serious information to share, there are few he takes along. Because the few, when they hear and you impart them, will also come and impact the others. So that is the principle of how you bring people along. But you still have to prune the team, because the non-performers on the team always drag the team behind. They always. It's like what happened in Côte d'Ivoire. And then we want to bring everybody along. That is Chris Hutton's idea. So he brought in the DIU. We must bring everybody along. And you know what? The DIU should have been pruned from the team. Shouldn't even have been in Ivory Coast. But they took him along. So prune the team always. Every year you must prune the team. Bring fresh people. Bring fresh people. Remember, your business is outdated every 18 months. Your business, the way it's running, is outdated every 18 months. So you need fresh ideas and you need new ideas to bring it along. There are some questions here, if I can, some comments in the chat box, if I can read it. I got the impression that it is a mark of great capability for one to operate using compass without a map. If this is the case, then kindly explain how it is possible. There, you see, when you have a task or you have a responsibility, 4 very important things make the execution of that activity possible. One is the insights, the information, and the knowledge you have. That is driven a whole lot by experience, So there are things that you go into a meeting, you have a fruitful meeting, you have a good conversation, and somebody will ask one question. You may be quiet all along, but you ask one question. but it's asking the question from a position of experience, from a position of insight, and it changes the whole dynamics of the conversation. That is ability to function without a map. How do you use a compass without a map? Our responsibility as leaders is to unlearn, to learn, unlearn, to learn, gather enough experience. I don't know, it's a critical element in making leaders move forward. Can I be helped? Can you help me with this? All of that comes together to make it possible for a leader to move forward without the necessary elements and pillars, which I call it the map, to navigate through. And all of that is possible if you have the experience, you have the knowledge, and you have the humility to say, this, I don't know. How do I go about it? That is how you develop. If a leader can bring everybody along, how does he ensure inclusivity? Yes, there's a difference. Let me explain that. Inclusive, you see, so for example, let me give you a typical example. You've gone through your budget cycle. You've gone to a board. The board has approved a certain budget. The leader's first task is to go back to the organization, call the organization together, all employees, and take them through what we intend to do in 2024. We are bringing everybody on board. This is what we intend to do in 2024. These are our milestones. This is what we want to achieve on employees, on revenue, on cash, on profit. You explain all of that. What you have done is you are basically bringing everybody together to understand the direction in which you are going. When you finish, you have 2.2 million employees, but you have 7 core people reporting to you. Your job is to carry the 7 people along. And their responsibility, that is why we have heads and teams, their responsibility is to now go back based on the conversation that you've had in the management room to also pull not all the 35 people who report to them, but 5 out of the 35 along. So it is, what you are doing is that it's a lean organization, but you are building in such a way that you have teams, not functions even if you can build it in teams. So small teams here, small teams here, small teams here. And your job is to ensure that the team leads across are the people who are critical core, who you drink, eat, smile, cry, whatever with. And they have to do the same thing along the way. Most of the time when I hear people saying, bring everybody along, it's like the leader's responsibility now is to make sure that everybody, and I'm saying that is not the approach, that approach doesn't work. The approach is to get small teams and make sure that each team head is empowered. And then he goes to empower the smaller team, and over time, everybody is empowered and is inclusive in delivering the targets and objectives that we have set. We have explained, okay, that's a common productivity here. If capital budgets are cut, this means you'll not be able to prepare within 8 months. You see, the biggest mistake we make in budgeting is to link your capital expenditure to your revenue for the year. And I always say that is when you link it, it will be cut. But when your investments today, and every organization must have a long-term orientation. If organizations have short-term orientations, it's a problem. It's a big problem. So we need to have long-term orientation, and hopefully organizations must all move towards long-term orientation. And what is long-term? It's 18 months to 3 months. That is what I call long-term, 18 months to 3 months. So the investment in capital expenditure today is needed for the survival, the growth, and the competitiveness of the company in 2026. That is completely different from a conversation that says that I need to buy this in order to deliver the revenue for 2024. Because I know from where I sit that to deliver the revenue for 2024, 75% of what you need, you've already acquired. So when you link it that way, it's difficult to have a conversation. That is why strategy always precedes the budget. And the budget must always draw its power from the strategy. Because in the strategy, we've indicated that by 2026 will be this. And to be this by 2026, the company needs to make AB investment in 2024 or 2023. That is how it works. So if it takes 18 months for an investment, it's not in your budget, it cannot materialize. Exactly. So your 2026 is at risk because what is needed in 2024 to materialize 2026, you have not executed, you have not done it, you have not acquired it, you have not invested in it. And therefore, your 2026 becomes very difficult to deliver. So that's why we say that companies, in my last slide, I say we have to unearth the future. And you unearth the future by innovatively today doing things, making investment, bringing in the right people, changing processes, changing systems, changing structures to materialize what you want to do in 2026. Finally, there's another one here. You mentioned that you elaborate on ideas and the innovation. I think I mentioned that the I, if you remember, is that you need inclusivity, everybody, diversity. And then when you are developing innovation, in an innovation, you see, you don't innovate for internal purposes. You innovate to be able to do three things: drive your revenue very well, enhance your profit, and then enhance the customer experience. That's where customer service is. That is why you are innovating. So anytime you want to innovate, external reality is always, always very important. Without understanding the external reality, you innovate around the wrong parameters and the wrong elements. And the future will come and it will feel like you are still not ready. You also cannot innovate if your structures, your systems, your support systems in the organization and the structures that you need do not support innovation. It's work in futility. So if you want to innovate, you must make sure that your structures and your systems in the organization support it. You cannot be innovative if the organization is not agile, because innovation is taking resources from one end and putting it into another end for purposes of the flow to come in a few months' time, in a few years' time, or in several years' time. That is why you are innovating. That's the whole idea of innovation. I think I've answered all the questions on the chat. There's a hand up, eh? Okay. Let me see the hand that is up. Okay. Okay, there are two hands up. So let me go to Adokale, then I'll come to the other one. I'll come to Grant. Adokale, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Honorable. This was very insightful as usual. But there's a follow-up question to what I put in the chat.
Yes.
So yes, you want to use 18 months, like you've taught us. You need to do an investment that would only materialize, or that would only reflect in revenue in probably 18 months.
Correct.
But in budgeting, we are looking at maybe the availability of funds, etc., and then we say no. You can't buy this at this time. So if you don't do that investment now, it will be very difficult to really generate, that revenue in that 18 months. So it shouldn't be part of the considerations that we put in when we are doing budget reviews.
Yes.
Sometimes, yes. So
I agree. And one of the things, I don't know whether you heard me say it somewhere along the line somewhere, that one of the things that we are going to do, or organizations should do going forward, is to develop an innovation budgets, innovation and growth-driven budgets, so that it is not a budget that is mainly based on the revenues and the bottom lines for the current year you are reviewing, but you are making some investments on the back of innovation, on the back of growth that is likely to materialize in a year or in 2 years' time. So I agree that that point is something that has to be factored within the system to make it part of the budgeting process. And most organizations don't do that. And I must say that for some of the organizations that I work with, including yours, I have also been a problem in some of the reviews. So hopefully, going forward, we all have to be guided by the fact that if we are to deliver in the year's time, in 2 years' time, the investment should be done now. It's not one-to-one happening today, results today. I share that view with you.
Thank you.
All right. Grant, Daniel, I can see Daniel Grant. Your hand is up.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Honorable. My question has to do with the automobile industry in Ghana.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm mentioning these companies. They are now defunct. Mechanical Lloyd.
It's gone. It's dead.
Body Technique Motors.
Also dead.
PHC Motors.
Also dead.
Prestige Motors.
Dead.
Dead, yeah. They have fantastic brands.
Let me add more. SCOA. I'll add more for you. SCOA.
Yes, good. SCOA.
Automotive and Technical Services.
COUS.
Yes, it's done. The guy on the motorway is almost gone.
Tannic
is almost gone.
Yes, please.
So I've added 3 to your 3. That's your question now.
Great, Honorable. You are really in touch with the industry. Yeah. So these people have fantastic brands, wonderful people with expertise. And some too, it is believed that they were aligned to some political parties. All these brands are gone. And we realize that foreign experts have taken over some of these brands, and they have managed to turn things around. So respectfully and humbly, as if there is something wrong with the Ghanaian when it comes to certain business. So if you can throw a little light on this one, because it's like the industry that is being taken over by foreign companies. Thank you.
There are 5 reasons they are dead, because I've done some work on them already. So I know why all of them are dead. I've done some work also in the pharmaceutical industry, so I know why all of them died. The first reason why they all died, you know, Mechanical Lloyd was listed on the stock market. Mechanical Lloyd, it was a listed company on the Ghana Stock Exchange. A number of reasons. Number one is most of these organizations died because they were overtrading. Overtrading is trying to do too much too quickly with very little working capital. So if you take the case of Prestige, and I know the owner very well who started it. Square, I know it very well. Automotive and Technical Services, I know. Tannic, I know very, very well. PHC Motors was also into timber and all of that. One of the things that they were trying to do mainly was overtrading. The same resources from the same joint, trying to do too many things with it. As a result, they were unable to keep up with the standards demanded of customers. So they were not meeting customer expectations. Because they were not meeting customer expectations, return sale wasn't happening. People were interested in the brand, started all of a sudden losing interest in the brand, because those who were driving the brands were giving too many complaints about their ability to keep up the standard of the brand. As a result of that, they were able to keep the target requirements by their suppliers. They were not able to meet. So you must sell maybe 100 vehicles or 50 or 40 vehicles, and you're averagely doing 10, doing 20, and doing all of that. Third reason. As a result of that, new brands came in, and people realized that the newer brands were better because they also offered better options. And the automobile companies were, so you take a BMW, you take a Mercedes-Benz, and all of a sudden, the Hyundai Sonata came in. So when the Hyundai Sonata came in, it was competing at low price compared to a BMW, a Mercedes-Benz, or a Land Rover, or a Peugeot, SUA, Peugeot, and all of that. And they were comparable. The services were good because the people who were running the businesses were also owners who have been in this business for many, many years. They didn't have problem with working capital. They could, and then they had established in Nigeria. Some of them are established in Nigeria. So they buy like 2,000 vehicles for Nigeria. They send 100 to Ghana. And to the guy sitting in Japan, in Germany, and all of that, the expectation was being met. And then what broke the camel's back finally was service. Service. I used to drive a BMW, which I got from, I was servicing at Mechanical Lloyd, a young boy running Africa Online. I used to drive a BMW 5 Series. And then he went to Mechanical Lloyd once. Service was bad. Bill was abnormal. What did I do? I decided to sell it. I never went back to BMW again. So these 5 reasons contributed to their downfall. And by the time they realized sale wasn't happening because people wanted the cars they didn't have, they were not able to bring in the cars. Now salon cars, they say pay deposit before we bring it in. And the Hyundais and the Kias and the Toyota, somebody else was competing Gamut, who had started Sterling and Co. were bringing Toyota vehicles. And people now began to shift gradually. And then the Sonata and the Santa Fe came in. The Kias, Sorento also came in, which were comparable vehicles. And then the boys in Dubai, who were borrowing at 0% interest, were bringing vehicles and flooded the Sprinters Road. And therefore, you can get a Prado, a Land Cruiser, and all of that on the Sprinters Road, new with Dubai specifications, and the companies over time collapse. That's what happened. So 5 reasons why they collapse. And every organization will collapse if it is over trading. The reason Beige collapsed and Beige had problems was that Beige Capital or Beige Bank was over trading. Anytime you overtrade, you expose yourself to unnecessary risk. And the unnecessary risks, if not managed, will kill your organization. Okay. Good. Okay. Can you help with between a company that is a platform and a company that is a pipeline? Anytime you are dealing directly with a customer, one-on-one sale, you are providing a service through a pipeline. Anytime you create a platform, so Uber is a platform. The guys who own Uber don't own any cars. They don't own a car. They don't own a car. Google is a platform. The reason Google and Netflix is very profitable is that Netflix doesn't have any transmission infrastructure. It's not like a TV3. You need to put a cell site. You need to transmit your service to before the guy can get it. It's not like that. As I'm speaking to you, when I finish, I go to my Netflix account. I have a movie to watch. I can watch it. So 1.2 billion people are sitting and watching one movie, which is being streamed live from a very small room in the United States of America. So Netflix is a platform. So Netflix now goes to the Nigeria movie producer and say, when you produce your movie, don't be selling it 1,111. Give me the movie. I put the movie on my platform. Anybody will go and download it and watch it. Pay me then I pay you. So Netflix generates 133,000 subscribers every day. Every day, 133 people are subscribing. In the last year that ended, 2023, quarter 3, in 3 months, they made a profit of $8 billion because they don't have any investments. They are asset light. They don't own any asset. All they own is something on the cloud and cybersecurity investments that they make to make sure that people cannot break into the system. That's all they do, security. But they don't have the things that we have. They are not buying transmitters. They are not buying production equipment. They don't own anything. So that's an example of a platform. You know, it's like the guy, Dubai International Airport. I don't know, you've been to Dubai before. Dubai International Airport is owned by the Sheikh of Dubai, the one who runs Dubai. He owns the airport. Any airline that lands in Dubai pays him a fee. So he has a platform called Airport. Heathrow is an airport. It's not an airline. So Heathrow, as an organization, is more profitable than British Airways. Why? Because British Airways lands there, Emirates lands there, KLM lands there, 180 airlines lands at Heathrow. Anytime they land and they are on the tarmac, they pay the owner of the tarmac. So the owner has developed a platform. That is different from being a pipeline. Pipeline is one-to-one. I want to buy a Dell computer. I walk to a Dell shop and I buy it. It's pipeline, B2C. Platform is an environment where buyers and sellers meet and do business. That is a platform. So the businesses for the future are businesses driven by platforms where we don't care. All we know is that we have. So electric vehicle is coming. The person who is able to put up electric vehicles charging stations across the country will own that space. Because when anybody needs to charge his electric vehicle, he needs to go there and charge it. He doesn't own the vehicle. He's not selling the vehicle, but he's selling a platform which is used by everybody. You give several examples of a platform-based company, not for a pipeline. So a pipeline is like Dell. It's a pipeline. You know, what do you call it? Zoom Lion. It's a pipeline. I want a service, I call them. They come and take my beam, I pay them. That is different from another environment that the Adjustment Group created, where all the other waste management companies, I've forgotten the name. Somebody should remind me the name. There's an entity where all the waste management entities in Ghana were being managed by an entity that I think Adjustment Group of Companies had created. That is a platform. So somebody says ESPA. It's a platform. But there's one we used to be at Pig Farm Junction. I've forgotten the name. It's an entity. The one the former CEO of Procurement Board was running. I've forgotten the name. I've forgotten. There's one which the Adjustment Group of Companies created, that all the entities, you can go and get your contract and bring it and they execute. So that serves like a platform. You know, the guy who is selling vehicle, Tesla, is pipeline. Selling Toyota is pipeline. You know, it's pipeline. But the people who are making money off Toyota, you know, it's an entity like Taiwan Semiconductor Company Limited. Because for Toyota to work, they need to go and buy a semiconductor. They don't sell a vehicle, but they provide an input needed for Toyota to function. That is a pipeline. How does pipeline company transition to platform? You have to evaluate your business and find out which part of my business can I collaborate so that one or two people can use the platform that I've created, the environment I've created to deliver their service. Yeah, somebody has given us the name. It's Alliance Waste. Yes, Alliance Waste. So that was supposed to be a model of a platform where everybody can come and work and all of that. Language waste. Good. I think we should be bringing the session to an end now. I'm being told that we've exceeded our time. So economic profit, economic profit, economic profit. Economic profit is the difference between the expected returns by shareholders, by owners of capital, and the net profit that the company delivers. So we have to ask ourselves at all time, what is the expectation of shareholders? And the minimum expectations of shareholders we use in analysis is what we call the risk-free rate of return. Risk-free rate of return. What is risk-free rate of return? The risk-free rate of return is minimum your TB rates, your treasury bill rates. Anytime your net profit in percentages is below your TB rates, you are destroying value. Let me simplify it that way. You are destroying value. Anytime your net profit, your accounting net profit, exceeds the TB rates, we can say you are creating value. So you are not an accounting person, a finance person, but think, what is the TB rate in the market? We are told that it's basic 30%. I make a net profit of 25%. You know what I say? I say that the company has done very well. From an accounting point of view, you have done very well. But from an economic point of view, you have destroyed value by 5%. That's what it means. Many businesses pat themselves on the back, focus on accounting profit. If your business is to flourish, become stronger and sustainable into the future, look at economic profit. Because economic profit is really, really the value that the company is delivering. TikTok is a platform. That's why they are so rich. TikTok is a platform. WhatsApp is a platform. Facebook is a platform. Instagram is a platform. So somewhere in the presentation, I use some terms. Nobody has asked that. I don't know if I've said it anyway before. You will see that I've used some term which I call, what do you call it? Gandalf. Gandalf. I've used that term somewhere in one of the, I think where I said you have to, I've used it somewhere, where I said you have to ride on the back of technology. I've used it there. So I'll explain that and then I'll say bye-bye to you. So what does Gandalf means? I say ride on the wave of technology. The G stands for Google. Question, why is Google such a powerful organization? How do I use the principles and their technology platform as a basis to run my business? So ask yourself a question. What does Google do? And how do I bring that into my organization to make it better? I'll explain further if I have time. The A there is the most valued entity in the world is called Apple. Question is, why is Apple so powerful? Why is the Apple brand a cult brand? It's a cult brand, C-U-L-T. We call it cult. Why is it a cult brand? Why do people love Apple so much? What have they done so well? They have branded themselves so well. You don't find Apple being sold in common shops. Apple has a premium, has a premium of $325 US. Premium. What does it mean? It means that the Apple product, Apple phone, is overpriced by $325. We call it a brand premium. And yet, billions of people around the world buy it. The real value of an Apple phone, which is sold for $1,000, is $675. Apple sells it for $1,000. They put $325 on it. People buy it and makes Apple one of the most valued companies in the world. Question that if I'm doing my strategy, question is, what has Apple has been able to do so well, so well, that people are ready to pay $325 intrinsic value, not physical, for the product? Netflix, platform, aggregator. Platforms are aggregators. So Netflix is an aggregator. Buyers, sellers bring them together. There is a seller, he wants to get to the consumer. There's a consumer, he wants to get to the seller. How do I create my organization, redefine my organization in such a way that I am able to play a role between my competitors and the consumers out there? That is what Netflix has been able to do. The D, I won't go to India, I'll go to Singapore. And I'll tell you about a bank called the DBS Bank. DBS Bank operates in a small country of less than 6 million people. Less than 6 million people. They make profit, not revenue, profit, which is bigger than the total revenue of 23 banks in Ghana. Question, what do they do so well? Technology. They have used technology as an enabler to improve their processes, improve their productivity, and make them productive. What UT was trying to do, which they couldn't do, and faltered somewhere along the line, DBS has done it and done it so well. DBS. The A is Amazon, delivery. Amazon is a delivery entity. They buy things from them, they deliver to you. Amazon is a platform. I want to buy a book, I go there. I want to buy a phone, I go there. I want to buy a laptop, I go there. It's a platform. What have they done so well that we want to innovate and use technology to drive our business, we can do? The L is LinkedIn. LinkedIn, where you put your CVs and your profiles and people get jobs from there. And the F is Facebook. So when you are doing your strategy and you come to the area where you are talking about innovation, you go to people who have done it and have done it so well that they drink and sleep it, and ask yourself, how do I use the principles that they have used and the things that they have done to define the future of my organization? And don't forget AI. Don't be an expert. You just have to be a user, because that industry is going to impact businesses to the tune of 2.6 trillion or about 4.4 trillion. I think it is time we bring the conversation to an end. So if there are no further questions, I want to thank you so much. We wanted to do an hour and a half. We've done 2 hours, 20 minutes. I think it's been a good conversation. It's the first of its kind being put together by AISWAM. So there are other sessions that with other facilitators that they will do. Join, let's share knowledge, and let's become better people in managing our lives and managing our business. Don't forget, we have 2 sessions coming up in Q1. One is the leading change and innovation. It's coming up end of February. And the second one is strategic women in leadership. That is coming up in the first week of March. So further details will be provided. Register, join us, and let's build our knowledge base. On this note, I want to say a very big thank you to all of you for joining us. Have a good afternoon, and God willing, our paths will cross again. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. On this note, we'd like to say a very big thank you to Honorable also, and then all participants who joined today. We have, unfortunately, our room got full. We have limited number up to 100. So next time we'll open the door for more people to join. The recordings will also be shared on our various platforms also. Kindly drop your name, your organization, and your telephone number so that we can share the recordings also. Don't forget about our upcoming AI training and then the 2 conferences coming up. Thank you once again and have a good afternoon.